Last episode, we created a multicolored concrete powder farm, which is going to gather up all of our gravel and sand while separating out the flint and the clay, take the dyes from our dye factory from the previous episode, and combine it all together to make any color of concrete powder that we need. This farm is also going to send that concrete powder down some waterlogged belts to get washed into full concrete blocks, while preserving a little bit of that powder so we can store up both. We also surrounded it in an amazing storage container-like factory build that is different from anything we have built on this world before, and we filled the courtyard with all the different piles of colored concrete powder that we are going to be storing, which is going to act as our storage system for this factory. And this episode, we are going to be using this concrete to build our emerald farm, which is what we have been building towards for a couple of episodes now. And I have to say, I did start recording this episode a few days ago, and I only got a few clips, but I changed this whole system up. I haven't completed the system to get the dye up into the factory yet, but I did change this so that it matches the YouTube short that I put out a few days ago, just to make it a little bit more efficient. So essentially what I did was I created this little system that just pulses the gravel, the sand, and the dye individually rather than it all being automatic. So it has become a semi-automatic farm. I have also color-coded the belts, so blue is for output, yellow is for input, and it just makes everything a little bit easier to follow. But like I said, we are going to be doing work on our emerald farm today. I have a little bit of a design over in a creative test world that I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. But for now, I want to go over and prepare the pillager tower before we get that sorted. So I will see you guys over at the pillager tower. We have a couple of things to do over there. I just need to gather up a mega torch. So for a mega torch, what we need is 3 normal torches, 2 diamonds, 2 logs of some kind, and 2 gold blocks. Well, that's easy for us to gather up. We have a gold farm, we have some diamonds, and everything else we can grab from our storage area back in Iron Reach Valley. So let me gather up all that stuff, and then I will get that created and see you guys over at the pillager tower. So now that we are over at the pillager tower, and I have been ravaged by a couple of pillagers and shot in the eye, ow, we have one little thing to do before we can start making this farm, and that is to dig straight down the middle of the pillager farm all the way down to bedrock. Just need to deal with a couple of bad guys first. Ow, apparently they're trying to deal with me as well. This isn't going to go well. Ow. Okay, so now that we have that sorted, all we need to do is dig down to bedrock. And also we need to make sure that we have some cobblestone on us to fill in any gaps that we're going to find along the way, which we are going to find some, like this one here. We just need to fill this in all the way just to make sure that we can actually get back out. And we are back up at the top. So we can actually seal that back off because we don't need to go down there anymore. And oh, the train's coming in. That's really cool. I've never seen it from this angle. I kind of like it. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to remove the whole top of this pillager tower. So let's get to work on that. We just need to remove this entire canopy, and then we should leave it as just this floor. And just while I'm demolishing the final few blocks of the top of this pillager tower, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been supporting the channel recently, from commenting on any of the videos, leaving a like, watching the shorts, or even just having the videos on in the background. It means so much. And if you haven't already, if you want to subscribe, feel free. There's absolutely no pressure to do it, but if you're enjoying the videos, then why not? You'll be able to see more of them, and you'll be able to get notified whenever I upload. But with that being said, we now have everything in place to start building our emerald farm. We have a nice clear pillager tower that is free from a roof and everything like that. And I think we are actually going to demolish the rest of the pillager tower at some point. I'm going to need to move it, but for now, this is going to work absolutely fine. There is no need to worry about that right now. So let's have a look at this emerald farm. I have it in a creative testing world. I will go over it and explain it over there, and then I'll bring the schematic over here to get it built. So we are now over in a creative copy of the world, which gives us the exact same pillager tower in the exact same coordinates. You can see that we are where our industrial district should be. However, this creative world does not have that in it. But let me show you the emerald farm that I've been working on. So this is the emerald farm here. Ignore that, that was just a test. So this is the emerald farm here. It's very similar to if you've ever seen Foxy No Tails create season 2. I think possibly season 1, his create farm was pretty much this design. I just doubled it up and made it a little bit shorter per sort of chunk. And essentially I'm using the same sort of mechanic. So it's fans blowing all of the pillagers into the middle block. They should eventually fall down to the bottom there, and you can see they land on a warp plate. So that warp plate then teleports them down to the bottom, which is down here, which then you can see they teleport in and they get killed by this deployer here, and all of their emeralds and XP get stored up in these drawers just here. And this is essentially the premise that we are going to be working off of. So unfortunately, this will not give us Bad Omen. I have checked. We will collect the banners, but we just won't unfortunately be able to get Bad Omen given that we are in 1.20 and Bad Omen bottles are not a thing yet. We have a filter system at the back just to get rid of any of the crossbows that we get, because even if we get a really good enchanted one, it really doesn't bother me. I don't mind losing them. Same with the backpacks, like I don't need them that badly. So this is the general idea of the farm that we are going to be using here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this schematic into the world, and we are going to work on getting this built up using the schematic cannon, and then from there we will get our build around it, which I'm super excited for. This is the exact height that they're going to be sitting at as well. And you can see why I wanted to get rid of the top of the pillager tower, because I believe this block sits maybe 3 blocks above where the top of the tower would be, and it would just look awkward. I have gotten rid of the full pillager tower in this creative world, but I think I want to incorporate the tower somehow into the build. So I just want to move it over a little bit, maybe to this patch here, level this out and build something up, because I have a really, really cool idea for how this can look. So I'm super excited to get that done. Let's hop back over into the regular world and we will get that placed. Okay, now that we're back over in our hardcore world, I've set up the schematic so that we can start positioning it where we want. So I want pretty much the middle of the 2 farms to line up with the center block of the pillager tower. And then we have some gunpowder for the schematic cannon, and we have an empty clipboard on us so we can gather up all the materials. This is going to be a very, very big gathering session. And I think we're actually going to have to make a lot of the components because we won't have enough on us. But with that being said, let's load this up, get this in position, and then see what materials we actually need. Perfect. Now, with this in place, we should be able to get it all built. So let us pop the schematic in the schematic cannon. And let me just grab a clipboard so that we can gather up all of our materials. So if I put a clipboard in there, this should show us exactly what we need to get this started. So we need 566 copycat panels, 560 chain drives, a lot of glass, a lot of grass, some nozzles, some shafts, and 2 warp plates. So it's actually less than I expected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather all of this up, and I will come back when we are ready to get started. Okay, and now with everything collected and everything ticked off, hopefully if we put this back in, we should get back a fully checked off or empty list. Yep, nothing extra needs to be done for this. So what we can do is we can put our gunpowder in and then get it started. So if we pop our gunpowder in here, then all we have to do is check the settings and just make sure that we don't have anything that we shouldn't. Perfect. That's all good. And then we can hit play. Awesome. So that is going to start building up our emerald farm. So what I want to do while this is going on is I want to make some changes to our pillager tower. So essentially I want to build it out so it looks slightly different, and I think I want to build it over there. So we might actually just build what I want to build a little bit over, and then we'll just get rid of the pillager tower when we're done. But that is going to mean going and gathering up a few materials that we're going to need, and possibly some that we don't actually have much of. We're not going to keep it the same because that would be very boring, so we are going to custom build ourselves a little tower. It might be a little bit shorter than the pillager tower, but it's essentially going to be where the kill chamber and our storage is going to be for this farm. So let's get that sorted, and then we can go from there. But before we get on to actually building our little tower, we need to know how tall that tower is going to be, which I actually didn't think of a minute ago. So what we need to do is we need to finish the emerald farm build first. Thankfully, we do have all of the white concrete that we need, and we pretty much have everything that we are going to need to build that, apart from the bottom, which I'm going to have to gather up some resources afterwards. But I feel like it would be a well-served time lapse to build the emerald farm. So let's jump in, get that built, and then we can see where we're going from there. So while this time lapse is going on, I thought I would have a chat to you guys about this episode as a whole, what we're building, and why it's taken so long to come out. So essentially what we are building is an airship. I will explain this a little bit later on in the episode, and I'll go over the kind of inspiration that I wanted to use for this build. And up until now, I've kind of been a little bit quiet on what I'm building specifically, but I do go over it in a couple of minutes time. So I'm fine saying we're building an airship. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And yeah, essentially this episode has taken a while to come out. The reason for that has just been a lot of things have been going on in my life, and it's essentially caused me to have absolutely no time to do any of this kind of stuff, like editing, recording clips or stuff like that. I mean, this time lapse and a couple of the clips beforehand, demolishing the pillager tower and everything, was recorded nearly 3 weeks after I showed you guys the emerald farm in the creative test world. So I recorded a little bit of the episode, and then essentially things just went majorly wrong. Nothing sort of serious. It was just all loads of little things that took my time away from being able to do stuff like this. Loads of things to do with like car repairs, house repairs, anything like that. Things just started creeping up. A lot of stuff to do with work, and yeah, things just piled up. One specific thing I did want to talk about is that this is not the only time lapse that you guys are going to see in this episode, and that is because I finally got my replay mod working, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. There's still a few tweaks that I can do to it. There's still a couple of things that aren't working quite right, but for the most part, replay mod is working, and I was so excited to use it that I feel like I've slightly overused it in this episode, but you know what? I'm happy with it either way, and I hope you guys are as well. So I will just let you sit back, relax, enjoy the rest of this time lapse, and enjoy any other time lapses you guys see in this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy. And now that we have that done, and the inside of this sphere is all mob proof and everything, we have a full setup for our emerald farm. But what we're going to work on now is the little underneath part of this build, which is going to lead nicely into the tower that we're going to build. So let's crack on with that. And for this build, I think we are going to need a bunch of different types of wood. So I want to use a little bit of stripped oak. I'm not quite sure how much, but we'll definitely have some. So I want some stripped oak, and I think we're going to want some stripped dark oak as well, and maybe some dark oak planks and some regular dark oak also. And then we definitely want a bunch of spruce. And then I think the only other thing we need to do is turn this on for a little bit so we can get some stripped spruce. And now that we have gathered up all of those materials and we have a significant chunk of stripped woods, normal woods, mangrove wood, and a couple of terracotta colors, as well as some packed mud, we are more than capable of building up our little tower. So I'm over here because the first thing I want to do is find out where we're going to build it. So this block is the center point, or what should be the center point of the farm. But you can see just from looking above me that it's not the center point of the build. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some grass blocks and I'm going to pillar out until I get to the center block or blocks of the build, which should be, actually, I think this is roughly, these two blocks are close enough to be in the center. So the center of the farm is 1 block offset from the center of the build, and it is a 2-block center, which is very unfortunate. I don't really like working with 2-block centers, but I don't think we have much of a choice with the shape that I've gone for. So where we are going to start is just a little bit offset from where we actually want to build the tower. So I want to grab some spruce logs, some mangrove logs, and some stripped dark oak logs, I think. And then we will grab some packed mud and some terracotta as well. And then we are just going to build this up. So we want some spruce logs out here. So it's a 2-block center. So we just want to build this up like this. I think we kind of want to go maybe about that big. And then I think we're going to go for kind of a circle shape on this build. but nothing too extravagant. So I kind of just want a little bit of a circular sort of shape. So we're going to go out a little bit, and then this is 6. And then once we have stripped all of those logs as well, what we are going to do is just start building up from here. So we're going to have quite tall edges with this block, and we're going to bulk out the edges as well, just because we don't want this to look too thin. We definitely don't want this. There we go, like that. And then what we're going to do is strip all of these as well. And unfortunately, we do get this bark now, which is a little bit annoying, I have to say, but it's fine. So we want to take that up like that. And I think we're probably going to want these sort of supports along the front as well, maybe? There we go. And then we are just going to get all of this stripped up as well. So I think we are just going to sort of follow this theme all the way around and try and get a nice uniform sort of support structure along the bottom, and then we can build in from there. So I will come back to you guys when that is done. And I think something just along these lines, I know it's very short, but that is fine. I think you guys can see what I'm kind of going for, and if you can't, there's a lot of inspiration from the Zeppelin towers outside of Orgrimmar in World of Warcraft. So I know that it's very short, very stumpy, and it's not fully realized at the moment, but this is kind of what I'm going for. There's going to be some windows, a little bit more depth, but then that is going to be the base of our tower, and that's actually going to be where we are going to collect our emeralds from. So this is going to be our collection point down here. We still have a little bit to add to the actual airship. So let's finish off this little tower, and then we can get the collection point set up so this farm can run while we are finishing the bottom of the Zeppelin, which is definitely going to be the hardest part of this build. I have no idea how to build a Zeppelin at all. So the first thing I want to do is I want to come into the tower over here, and we are going to set up a little place for us to be able to build our collection system. So the collection system is going to be relatively simple. It's just going to be a lot of glass and some mangrove planks, and that's pretty much going to be the design factor of our collection system. So I think I want it to all sort of happen on this layer here. So we do need some of these parts as well. We need a deployer. We'll put the deployer there. And this deployer is going to hold on to a diamond sword that I've just enchanted up. So we have sharpness 4, fire aspect 2, unbreaking 3, and looting 3. So we got a really, really good enchantment off of this. And then we added looting 3 as well. And then we are going to grab ourselves some encased fans, and they're going to go on the other side. So they're going to go just here facing in. So again, we just want a little bit of space on the end to give us our chain drives. Then what we are going to do is we are going to grab our warp plate and stick that right on the middle here. And I think I actually want to extend this out by 1 more block, just like that. And we're going to put the warp plate there. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab this attuned shard, and then we're going to grab another flint, and we're going to pop that in there. We just need some warp dust to make another attuned shard. So we will grab the attuned shards out of those ones up the top, and essentially we will put these ones in to say that anybody who steps on the warp plates up here are going to teleport down into here. So now that we have that done, we can grab ourselves some smart chutes, and we do need to move them. So I want a smart chute underneath here and a smart chute right about here. So I do want 2 set up, and I do need to grab that sword because we are going to need a list filter when we get one to prevent the sword coming out. So this is going to pick up everything except the sword itself. So now from here, the only thing left to actually do is to get the power set up to this bit and to get storage set up. So I think I want storage over in this corner over here. So we're going to have spruce trim and some spruce drawers. So I want the spruce trim along the bottom here, and then we want our spruce drawers up here. So we're going to go 6 for now, and then I want this one out the back to have a funnel coming out of it, and we're going to put a lava bucket in there just so that it can void off all the unnecessary items, specifically things like the crossbows or any arrows or anything that may drop. Basically anything that isn't emeralds or banners. We have 6 just for any accidental overflow, but mainly we are just going to be using 2 of these. So I'm actually super excited for this. I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's a really, really cool use of the space as well. I really wanted to get something like this into the world, and we still have a lot of detailing to do here. So what I'm going to do just for now is pop up into here and get the attuned shards put in where they need to go. So the first one we want to do is this one here. So we're just going to get a little space here. Grab one of the shards, grab some glass as well. There we go. So that warp plate is now attuned to the warp plate at the bottom. So anybody or any pillager who walks on that warp plate is going to teleport down into the tower. And you can already see exactly how our design is going to work. All of the pillagers are teleporting onto this platform here. And essentially, if we just swing and kill them all, we are going to drop loads and loads of emeralds, and they will never teleport away because we've not attuned this warp plate to anything. And with that final little bit done, we have connected up all of the storage. The last thing we need to do is turn this on. So how we are going to do that is we are going to pop underneath our area over here, and we're going to head all the way over underneath our power plant, and we just have one shaft to connect up before our collection system is all done. So all we need to do is add a shaft into that gap there, and our power should be going to our collection system. And there we go. We have a fully working system. So it does seem to be going a little bit slow. I'm not 100% sure why. We might need a rotational speed controller. But for now, this will do. It should push all of the pillagers onto this chute here. And that just means that they will all funnel down onto this plate, move over, and they should be 1 block too far over to be able to destroy this plate as well, which is good. That's exactly what we need. So the next thing I want to do is to power this so that we can actually get it running. So the first thing I need to do is get myself back up into the giant sphere in the sky, which I keep calling an airship, but I suppose until it actually looks like an airship, it's not an airship. So we are going to make our way up into the big sphere up in the sky so that we can follow the track down. So the plan is just to grab this shaft and send it as far down as we can, as close to the ground as we can sort of get it. Then we can actually leave up here for now. We will come back in a minute, but now we just need to run this into the floor and then over to the power station. And with a couple of little tweaks and my audio turned all the way to the bottom because these warp plates have the nether portal teleportation sound every time a mob uses one. So it is just have a quick listen. It's just ridiculous to listen to. But as you can see, our emerald farm is working perfectly. We have nearly 200 emeralds, and it's only been running for a couple of minutes. It's barely going. And look at how fast it is. I love it. I'm so happy that we finally finished the functional part of our emerald farm. We do get a couple of losses, which I think I want to sort out with another couple of smart tubes down here, but that can all wait until later. We are getting a good amount of XP as well from this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to upgrade each of these with 3 templates and the banner with 1, and the rest are pretty much just going to be overflow drawers. So while this is chugging away and getting us loads and loads of emeralds, what we are going to do is work on styling out our airship, making it look good and making it fit into the terrain a little bit, because I do want to do some sort of terraforming to our little mound that we have the tower on, just because I think at the moment it looks very, very bland and boring, and it just sort of looks like a tower that's been placed next to a big sphere. And even when we add the airship, there's not going to be a lot of context as to what's around here. So I want to add in some sand, some gravel, some different textures, some concrete powders, maybe some path blocks, some sandstone, stuff like that, just to make this a little bit more sort of run down and deserty. And then we are going to style up our airship, make it look a little bit more steampunky, and hopefully that will be fantastic. Look at how many emeralds we are getting already. So this does require a data pack if you wanted to run this. If you wanted to use this farm, you would need to get the data pack that allows pillagers to drop emeralds, but that data pack is very, very easy to install. It's available on CurseForge, and it really doesn't change the gameplay all that much. But for the create mod, it's very, very useful to have multiple different sources of farms. So obviously you can make a raid farm out of create, but raid farms are a little bit more complicated. This is far, far simpler. So I'm really, really happy with this design. I'm really, really happy with how it's come out. So let's have a think about how we can style this airship, and then let's get something built up. I want to go for steampunk. I want to go for lots and lots of dark colors, dark wood, a little ship underneath, and I want to connect it to our tower. I also want to get the tower set up in a way that it looks a little bit more run down, a little bit more heavily used, and hopefully while that is running, we will rack up a lot of emeralds and a lot of XP, which is fantastic. I'm super excited. I'm so glad that this farm is done. Now with the airship built, I know I said I was going to do the landscape around the tower, but I thought I would leave that just a little bit because I really wanted to get the airship in place, and I think it looks really, really cool. It's my first time ever building a ship of any kind in Minecraft, so, you know, I know it's not the best looking ship in the world, and I know it could use some work. It's a little bit chunky on the bottom, and it's way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I was really hoping for a little bit of a gap underneath, but obviously that's not happening. And we have added in a couple of little bits. You could see in the time lapse that unfortunately I paused the time lapse a couple of times and had to go back and redo it. And essentially it kind of had a couple of little jump cuts to already finished pieces that we were time lapsing. But I think the overall structure looks really, really cool, and I can't wait to get the final piece in. And the first little detail that I want to work on is right here at the back of the build. So you can see that we have this sort of interesting cross section at the back, which looks like it's holding something on. And I want it to be holding on a big propeller. This square might be the best place to put it. And then if we just pop it in like that, there we go. So that gives us the perfect way to start this out. So I think the middle is definitely going to be stripped dark oak. So I definitely want this to come out at least another one like that. Then we can kind of go from there in terms of how far out we do want it to go. So I think we can get on top of this, and I think one might be enough. So if we can imagine a propeller sticking out of the back here, I think one block might be enough. And from these sorts of angles, you won't really be able to tell that it's off center anyway, which should be fine. I just wish there was a way to use all 4 of those blocks without using 4 individual windmill bearings, because that can get a little bit messy. So 1 should be enough. So if we fly on back down to here, we can start building out the actual shape of what we want the propeller to look like. And I think I want to use spruce wood for this because it's a little bit different in tone to the dark oak, but it still fits the sort of really dark wood aesthetic that I want to go for. So we're going to need quite a few of these. So I think we want the first one to come out of here. So we can maybe do that. So go up 5. So what does that look like so far? That's going to look like quite a steep upward curve, which is fine. That's kind of what we're going for. Then I want up 1. Then we can start kind of going along the way, just like that. And then how does that look? Oh, that looks propeller-ish. I quite like that. Yeah, okay. We're gonna keep this shape, and we'll fill it up with the inside, which is going to be made of sanded diorite and wool, and maybe a little bit of white concrete powder. But it's going to be sort of fitting the aesthetic of the white, and then we'll keep this shape for the most part. So let's see how it looks when it's all put together. And with some of the sanded diorite in, I think this is the shape that we want to go for. So I want 4 of these all coming out and pointing in the different directions, and I want to try and keep this shape as much as possible. But I think it looks really good. I like it, so I'm going to replicate it around the 4 axes of this shape, and then we will get that going from there. And with that done, and it being the slightest little bit off center, which is really going to bug me, but I'm just hoping I don't pay too much attention to it, all we have to do is turn it on. I am so happy with how this has turned out. Even with it being a little bit off center, like, it doesn't even bother me. I can hardly tell from this angle, and it looks so cool. It adds so much to the build. Just that little bit of movement. And it's going so slow because of how little wool we have on it, that it just makes it seem like it's supposed to be stationary, like that's its idle speed. And I think this works so well. I'm super happy with how this has turned out. Now the next thing that I want to work on is going to be around the base of the tower, just making it look a little bit nicer. So I think the first thing we're going to do is get a bunch of the different variations of sand right around the edge of this tower. So we are going to have to double up some layers underneath, just because obviously sand is going to fall if it doesn't have anything supporting it underneath it. But for the most part, we're just going to go around the tower, clear out at least a 1 block gap, and fill it with some different types of sand. And I haven't really given any thought to the overall lore of the tower in particular. So if anybody has any ideas for the kind of lore they want to add into the world as to why the tower's here or what its purpose might be, feel free to pop that down in the comments and we can have a read of them in the next episode, see what we feel is the best lore for the tower. So I just want to fill this out with some more red sand. Then we can move on to some lush red sand for a little bit further out. So let me just grab a water bucket quickly so that I can really quickly just get rid of all of the vegetation and stuff that's growing around here. I have to say that is the one annoying thing about the immersive weathering mod, is that it grows all of these really annoying weeds and stuff just everywhere. And there's no way to get rid of it apart from a bucket. And sometimes you don't really want to be dealing with that, you know? But let's replace some of this around here with some of the normal lush red sand. And we can go around the tower as well, stretching out just underneath the airship. The next thing I want to do is I've added a little bit of wet sand around the base of the tower. So we are also going to sort of surround the base of the airship itself with some wet sand, just to give it a little bit of shadow as well. And we're going to take that out pretty much as far as the airship would cover, because I think it would really add some quite cool shadows to the overall sand that wouldn't necessarily be there otherwise. So while I was doing the landscaping, I must say I'm not 100% happy with it, and I did get a little bit carried away in terms of how large I went without showing you guys an update. So let me just show you guys right now what we have built. So this is our little landscaped area. You can see why I'm not entirely happy with it. The wet sand into the desert sand, it just isn't as smooth of a transition as it looks in the UI of the mason table, and I didn't know how to reintegrate it into the land, so I just did path blocks, and then the red looks a little bit off. So overall, I'm just not 100% happy with how this area has turned out. I think if it was bigger and there were more patches of similar colored sand, it would be a little bit nicer, but yeah, as it is, it's not very good. So we are going to be working on this again in the future. And where we're going to be working on that is on my Twitch channel. So if you guys want to have a look at that in the description below, twitch.tv/necessarilypurple. We will be doing a stream very shortly on landscaping pretty much most of the industrial district. I'll be trying to work as hard as I can, getting a pretty good gradient going around that and around the buildings and everything. So I hope you guys will check that out. I hope you guys will enjoy it as well if you do come by and say hello. But for now, I think we have done a fantastic job overall with this build. I'm really happy, excluding the landscaping, I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I will sort out that line of dirt. I'm going to replace that with some sand because that's getting on my nerves as well. But I'm really happy with how the airship overall has turned out. I need to cover this up or something, but I'm super happy with how this has turned out. I really like it. I think it's an amazing way to integrate the pillagers into the build with their color scheme and everything, and I'm really happy that we have the emerald farm set up. And with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy this build. I just wanted to say before the episode ended that I know that this episode is very late. There's been a massive delay in my uploading recently. Work has been so busy over the last few weeks. It's been insane. I've had so much to do outside of work as well, with working on different cars at home and just trying to fix a lot of things. So I hope you guys can bear with me. My upload schedule will get back on track for the next few weeks, and I do have some really cool plans for the next few episodes, and I can't wait to show you guys. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. If you did, please drop a like on the video. Comment what you like about this build and how you think I could improve it. And also, if you are enjoying the series as a whole, if you would consider subscribing, that would be much appreciated. I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and we are very close. So if you guys can help me out in any way, I would really appreciate it. But either way, thank you guys for watching. If you are interested in the Twitch stream, head on over. There is a link in the description, as well as a link in the description to my Patreon if you guys want to support outside of the channel in any way. We do have free membership options, as well as a wide variety of membership options with loads of different benefits that come with them. So if that's something that interests you, fire on over. But I will see you guys in the next one. You guys have been awesome. Peace. Look at me. I am the captain now.